Good evening, everyone. I'm just looking to get my iPad set up. Of course, now it's thinking and thinking and thinking. Hello, everyone. Please drop a hello in the comments. Let's get these. There we go. There's my video. There are my comments. Hello. Oh, I better turn off my volume. Where's my volume? There we go. Because, we don't need two of me talking. Good evening, good evening. We are in for a treat this month. Oh, got a leather light that I got to turn on here. And I'm going to come that way just a smidge. Oh, the joys of live TV. Hello, everyone. Everyone local, everyone not so local. Janice is in hot Arizona. Gotta come visit you sometime, Janice. I love Arizona. It is absolutely gorgeous out there. All right, so here we are on Learning Live for June. And because it is a month that has Father's Day in it, and it was just recently Matt's birthday, and there's a lot of other men in our lives that we like to celebrate, we thought we would dedicate this month to all things masculine. Tonight I'm going to take you through some tips and tricks on how to, if you have a feminine card or you find one on Pinterest that you absolutely love, but maybe you want to make it for a Father's Day card or a masculine birthday card or a retirement card. I'm going to walk you through all the tips and tricks on how to modify a feminine card to a masculine card. Alexis, I believe next week is going to be showcasing Photoplay, which is one of our favorite brands that happens to be run by an amazing gentleman. There's a whole story there. The owner is Jody. The sales manager, who is a female, is Joey. Jody is a male, Joey is a female, and they have a whole team of amazing people. But we thought Alexis wants to really celebrate that brand. And then I think Chris has some fun stuff up her sleeve, and Darlene has been working on some ideas. So we are going to focus on making it manly this month in June. So now we've got a bunch of you signed on here. I'm going to keep my eyes on the comments. So if I keep reaching, I'm just checking my comments there. I'm going to start off by talking to you about some of the things that we look for when we're trying to decide whether we want it to be a feminine or a masculine card. I've done a whole bunch of samples that I'm going to show you tonight. And then I'm going to finish off by taking a feminine card that I have made and walk you through the process of how I turn that into a masculine card. So without further ado, I'm going to find something to hide. Hang on a sec. Let me just grab one of my pieces of paper here. Is that going to be big enough? Yeah. All right. So the first thing we want to look at look, you're already seeing some of my sneak peeks because I wasn't holding it close enough. Look at your patterns. So whether things like florals and flourishes and swirls all tend to be very feminine. Things like plaids tend to be more masculine, stripes, anchors, all of those kinds of things. There are, definite camps, and you know what, maybe I'm being stereotypical tonight in saying that there are girly stuff and manly stuff, but one of the questions we get asked the absolute most is, how do I do masculine cards? How do I make my projects more masculine for my husband or my son or my brother or my grandfather? So that's really what I'm going to focus on tonight. So I do apologize if I am a bit on that stereotypical side, but by showing you extremes, hopefully we can then come back and meet in the middle. The other thing is colors. So again, you probably, everyone's got their personal preferences, but in general, colors like pinks and corals and sometimes even purples, depending on the shade, tend to be more feminine. Things like navy blue, gray, forest green, like this green here, tend to be more masculine. Now I'm also going to show you where I'm breaking the rules, but generally you can kind of divide some of your colors that way and go by what is the dominant color, not necessarily every single color, because some of those plaids have a mix and you can use it for either occasion. We're going to talk about textures. So whether it is wood grain or whether you distress the edges of your paper. So both visual texture as well as physical or tactile texture. Hard versus soft. This is going to come into when I talk about inking and creating additional elements for your card. And that, it sounds a little weird now, but it'll all make sense when I show you my samples. Shapes. Masculine tends to have nice strong lines, strong corners. Feminine tends to be circles, rounded corners, that kind of thing. Size and scale, dainty versus bold. And then font. When you are using a scripty font, that does tend to be a little bit more feminine, and a nice bold block font can be a little bit more masculine. So what does all of this mean? Let me just show you some examples and we'll talk about all of these different attributes in that way. And what I tried to do when I was creating my samples is really have apples to apples. So I have these two cards here with the intention that my right-hand card my left-hand card is my more feminine. My right-hand card is more masculine. Very much tried to have it, as close to the same layout as possible, using the same stamps. Things like bees and frogs and some of our critters you can absolutely use across the spectrum. And good evening to everyone who is continuing to join in, talking about feminine and masculine. So let's look at these here from all of our different perspectives. Patterns, we've got florals versus stripes. Colors, yellows and pastel-y colors, navy blue, bold colors. Textures, I don't have a ton of texture on here. We do have the gingham plaid on here, but I was able to use that on both. This is maybe not a good example of texture. Hard versus soft. Again, I didn't do a lot of inking on this one. We'll come back to that because not all of these qualities have to be on every single card. But you could say that, a flower is a soft shape, whereas the honeycomb and the stripes are more of a hard shape. So that gives you those different balances, and that talks to shape as well. Size and scale. Nice bold striping here. Delicate, pretty background here. So delicate, tiny, small does tend to lean a bit more towards feminine. But on the masculine, it's also nice to have that contrast of the small gingham and the bold stripe. Size and scale, and then font. So here I've used a scripty font for my sentiment. And here I have used more of a straight up block printing sentiment here. And I guess I'll go back to shapes. Here I've rounded the corners. Here I've got pointy corners. So keeping things soft, delicate, pretty on the feminine side, really amping up the angularity, the straightness, the boldness over here. If I were to sketch this out, these would be the exact same sketch. It's just in your choice of materials that you have there. And I will take photos of these and post these as well, so that you can see the difference and see these guys side by side. So that's sample set number 1. Sample set number 2. I think I will do, I'm going to do this one next. So going back to this one, both of the stamp sets that I have used tonight are from Hero Arts. This is the Believe stamp set. This is Hoppy Day. And then I also have a birthday sentiment set. Let me just grab it out of my basket here. This is a fabulous sentiment set called Let's Celebrate. And it's got all your different fonts and things like that on it. So I've used that tonight as well. All right, so back to set number 2. This is using Hoppy Day. Patterns, lots of circles and dots and very free flowing. Here, this chevron or arrows. Arrows tend to be a very masculine shape or form. Colors, really highlighting the pink over here, bringing out the green. Texture, we've got dots, we've got overlapping fluid shapes over here, or textures over here, and this is very linear. It does have some distressing kind of built right into the paper, but that really does keep it a very bold kind of look on the paper. And ironically, these are the two sides of the same paper. So this is one side of a Vicki Boutin paper and this is the reverse side. So you in any moment can have that choice to flip it over and change the whole look of your card. Hard and soft, again, I didn't do any inking on this one, but here I've got circles versus strips. I guess that somewhat talks about shape as well. Here I'm really emphasizing the circles and all of these free-flowing shapes. Here I've kept it very straight and angular. Size and scale, not really applicable here. And, you know, I was really fortunate on this stamp set that the font would work either way. It is not scripty and flourishy, but it is also not plain and blocky. So it was really easy to use on the same one. Here I've got rounded corners, here I've got square corners. I'm hoping you're starting to see, you know, how very easy it is to take one style and change it to the other, or vice versa, just by changing up some small, subtle aspects of your design process. All right, I've got one more set of samples to show you here, and let's do it this way. So I've got feminine on the top, masculine on the bottom. Patterns, let's talk about the patterns. So I've got a really pretty little floral, nice purples and pinks and yellows. I've paired it with a stripe, which I know we had talked about before being a bit more masculine, and it is on the blue side, but because it's so dainty and very thin, almost that pinstripey look, I felt like it still worked really well for the feminine card. And then I have finished off with a dainty sentiment pattern. This hello is in a gold foil print on the paper. So it really just helped elevate that femininity of the card. Rounded corners. What else? So hard versus soft. I know I've had trouble talking about that because I didn't do it on my first set of samples. But if you look here, this is a great example. I have done it on all the rest, but it's very, very subtle. It shows up better here. When I was inking my edges, I used a blending brush, or you can use a sponge. So you get a really soft application of your ink on your edges. Compared to here on the masculine, where I have simply dragged the ink pad onto the paper. So you get those lines, you get those angles, you get those really sharp edges to the inking versus the soft. So that definitely changes up the look. I've got a circle for the sentiment. My scale is very small and dainty. And then when I come here to the masculine, I've got wood grain. Wood grain is a super simple, super easy, never let you down technique for making something more masculine. When in doubt, throw a wood grain on there. I took this sun pattern. I really liked it because not only are they little squares with sharp corners, but they're a very neutral color. And because of that grid pattern, it really gave a strong masculine look. And then I finished off, so again, using a sentiment strip, just like this one, but this paper, the colors are darker, the words are bolder, and even though there's those little hits of pink in there, the pink is not a dominant color. And by pairing it with a yellow up here, that yellow and the brown really lifts and jumps out, and the pink just kind of recedes into the background. So those are the differences in those two cards. So hopefully everyone is following along with me, and as we jump into I'm going to take you through an actual process. And you know what, we might even create a couple of cards on the fly, because I've got a whole stack of paper over here, and all of them are really great examples of what we can do to take a feminine card and make it more masculine. So I'm just going to keep my little cheat sheet, my little checklist off to the side. Whoops. Here is my feminine card. So once again, I've used that dainty hello printed paper. I've got a beautiful floral here, and I'm anchoring it with a very dainty little polka dot. I've got a scripty font. I've got some corally pink embellishments. I've got rounded corners. It's hard to tell on the camera, but I have used a brush and done some soft ink blending and ink distressing on the sides. I think I kind of checked all the boxes here. So how do we go about making this card masculine? When we get to the end, I am going to use the bees again. I'm going to do a very similar treatment for the sentiment, but let's just look at our paper and let's look at what we're working with. So I have a couple of card bases off to the side here, and I'm just going to grab my pencil if I can find it. That one will work. And I just need to remind myself what size my pieces are. I'm pretty sure this one is 3 by 4. So if I draw myself a little sketch, this is 3 by 4. So this is 1 1/4 by 4. And this little guy down here is 1 1/2 by 4 1/4. Just so I remember. Here, I'm going to do it on this white paper because it might show up better. So this is my card. 3 by 4, 1 1/4 by 4, 1 1/2 by 4 1/4. All right. So if we're going to do apples to apples, let's start with this panel here. I want to find a really strong, larger print, bold type of pattern to go against or to counterbalance this floral. So I could go, let's see what options I have. I could go with the words. I could go with this particular stripe. This is all out of the Jen Hadfield Live and Let Grow 6 by 8 pad. This has some really awesome options, both masculine and feminine. I mean, oh well, you know what? Instead of flowers, I could do bugs. What else could I do? I thought there was a fishing one in here. There we go. Could do fishing as well. So what if we did, you know what, I'm gonna switch it. I actually kind of like the bugs, not gonna lie. One of the other ones I had thought about doing was this one here. And even though it is foliage, it really is just foliage. It doesn't have flowers. It's not girly. It's kind of outdoorsy. But now that I'm looking at it, I kind of like that bug paper better. So let's focus on the bugs being our main focal point here. Or you know what? I said we could do 2 cards. So let's do those 2. So let's plan for 2 cards. All right. What are we going to put down this side here? So a couple things we want to look for. We do want to look for some kind of contrast so that they stand out against each other. Because we are looking for masculine, we don't want anything, whoops, dainty like this one. So we could do, this is a little bit bolder, but I feel like there's not enough contrast there. I worry about doing the words because these words are so big, they're not going to fit very well on that, that little side panel. But maybe that would work well at the bottom. So I'm going to do that. What else do I have here? I could do the green down the side. Or do I have a big enough piece? I could do that wood grain. What do you guys think? I think I'm going to do the wood grain. So this is kind of how my card number 1 is building up. Though if I'm doing, okay, now I'm rethinking. If my plan is to do the bumblebees, the bugs may not work, but you know what might work with that? Bugs and frogs. So maybe I'll do frog on this one and I'll do bumblebees on that one. Okay, so we've got 1 card kind of set and planned. What are we gonna do with this one? Here is where well, maybe down the side we do that green polka dot. And this is where the green polka dot kind of works for both masculine. Oh, we could do, let's do that. I like that. And I have just enough to make that fit down the side. And now I need something nice to anchor this up. What else have we got in this pad? And while I tend to really like metallics for masculine, sometimes I do find gold tends to lead more feminine, whereas silver or pewter, because they're cooler colors, to me, feel more masculine. But that could just be me. That then comes down to a personal preference. All right. I'm thinking this blue because it's got a fun little very straight pattern. It'll bring out the light blue here in this paper, and I feel like that is working for me. And that's the fun with this, that you could really just play with all kinds of different combinations. Sheila, yes, this is a great paper pad, and I think you could get a lot of mileage doing both feminine and masculine cards using this one pad, all depending on how you dial up and dial down your colors and your scale and all of that good stuff. Okay, let's take this guy and cut our pieces. So this one's going to be 1 1/4 by 4. This one's going to be 3 by 4. And this is going to be 1/2 by 4 1/4. So I'm going to start with that one. Let's do our 1/2 inch first. And unfortunately, it's going to cut some words off. Can I scooch it? I'm going to cheat. I'm going to make this a little bit bigger. So that's 1 3/4. But that's okay. And I'm gonna make it 4 1/4. Let's cut off some of these partial words and then do our 4 1/4. This piece is 1 1/4 by 4. Wood grain is great because it can go either direction. 1 1/4 by 4. And yes, I know some of that bottom piece is going to get covered up since we made that word piece a little bit longer, but that's okay. And this is going to be 3 by 4. So I want it to be 4 inches tall, which takes me to a good place here, and 3 inches wide. That's number 1. Let's go to number 2 and get all our pieces cut. So this one is 1 1/4 by 4. Thank you, Carol. Carol has put the link up for that Jen Hadfield Live and Let Grow pad. This guy here was going to be 3 by 4. So 4 inches tall, 3 inches wide. And you notice so far really all I have used is paper. You can do a whole lot with just a little bit of paper. And then this one is 1 1/2 by 4 1/4. Okay. They're looking kind of cool. Okay. So let's just kind of lay them out here and see what we've got. Do we want to mix and match anything? I'm kind of thinking I may do that. I like how I've kept kind of organic patterns on this side. Still very rustic, still very manly, but a little bit more natural with the foliage and the wood grain. And over here I've got the suns with the beetles, and not John, Paul, George, and Ringo, of course, these little beetles here. And then we've got our sentiment strip at the bottom. Lots of contrast, still lots of contrast. All right. So let's check out our list. Patterns compared to our feminine. We've got our patterns balancing off. Colors. Very masculine colors with the blue, the browns, the oranges and yellows, the greens, the wood grain. So that's your texture. We've got lots of angles, hard and soft. So we've got hard shapes with the squares. We've got, now I guess you could argue that the foliage is more of a soft texture. But you know what, I'm okay with it. I like the wood grain as that texture, and this balances it off with those nice straight lines. Shapes we haven't gotten into yet. We'll get into that when we get into our sentiments. These are very square. We're not going to round the corners. And then font, again, nice blocky font here. When we add our sentiment on, we will take care of font as well. All right, so what about distressing? Let's do some edge distressing on, I'm not gonna do it on this one because most of these are pretty dark colors. Well, I guess two of the 3 are pretty dark, and I don't know that they necessarily need it. Let's do it on this one though. I am going to grab, I've got peeled paint here. And all I'm going to do with this is do that dragging technique again around what would be the outside edges. I don't want to get into too much in the center because I do like the flow of it. I don't want to break up that flow too much, but I'm just going to drag. Gives me some straight lines, gives me some color. Just hold that up there so you see how that's working. And all I've done is drag it. The more vertical you get, the more you're going to just get the side of the paper. The more horizontal you get, you're going to get those lines and those edges on your paper. And let's do this one. So again, just that side and that side. And then let's go around the 3 edges here. This one may not show up a lot, but at least we can confidently say we've done it to all the pieces. And it's just a bit more of a subtle look. Okay, these ones I'm gonna leave as is. Now I'm gonna grab my card bases and we're gonna sticker down. Let's slide this guy off to the side. How are we doing for time? We're good. Okay, tape runner. So I'm gonna start with this wood grain piece and work my way out. So this one's going in that top left corner right against the fold. Let's do my big piece here. And I'm this time going from the outside edge in, so that way if my pieces maybe weren't cut properly or my measurements were off, then they overlap. And then I will take this one along the bottom. Oops. All right. And it looks like this blue piece is just a little bit too long, so let me snip it off. All right. And my other card base. And same process. Because I've distressed this one, let's make sure that the right corner's going in the corner. And by right, I mean correct, not right versus left. And I'm intentionally leaving that one till the end because I know I cut it bigger than what my plan had been. So I want to make sure that it overlaps. There we go. It's not very straight. It's okay, I can live with it. And then again, because I know this one's a little bit bigger, I put it here so it can overlap. And again, that seems to be sticking out a little bit. So either my card bases aren't correct or my measurements weren't correct, but that's okay. And because I then just cut off my inking, I can go back and just fix that up. Okay, so a lot of our work now has already been done in transforming this feminine card into a masculine card. And that's by changing our colors, changing our patterns, sharp edges versus rounded corners, sharp distressing versus soft ink blending, checking off a lot of those boxes on our checklist. All right, so this one I said I was going to do a frog. This one I'm going to continue to do the bees. I do have a frog already stamped, so let me, which one are we going to do? Are we gonna do lying down frog or are we gonna do standing up frog? I think we're gonna do standing up frog. Let me quickly color him. And I'm gonna go with this color combination. So if anyone's following along, I'm using YG61, 63, and 67. Probably won't use the 67 very much. These are pretty small images, so we don't need a whole lot of shading. We can just quickly color in seconds, and then I will die cut him out. super quick coloring job. Let's give him some shading. Down the side of his face here. And let's blend it in. And there he starts coming to life. Not too bad for a quick job. And I'm going to use a little bit of yellow on his little eyeballs here, just so it stands out a little bit. And there's our frog. Okay, I'm going to die cut him out in a second. That's for that card. And I need some bees. Now I still have my bees loaded up here on my stamping platform. So, and I have a scrap piece of paper. Is that gonna fit? Where are they? I don't think that's in the right spot. Nope. So let's. Okay. Put them in there. Yep. So let's magnet this in place. Whoops. You guys shouldn't stay together. Here we go. And let's ink up the bees. So again, the frogs were from the Hoppy Day stamp set from Hero Arts. These are from the Bee Leave stamp set, also from Hero Arts. Get my pressure tool to make sure I get nice even pressure across my stamps. And you know what, those look pretty good. I'm gonna do one more coat because those blacks, we really want to be intense on our bees. And there we go. Spectacular. Okay, let them dry for a minute. I'll clean these guys later. And Memento ink does usually dry pretty quickly. I'm just gonna give it a second just to be safe, and let me die cut my frog. And you know what, that's what I really like about both of these stamp sets is that, oops, wrong one. Where's my bees? Both of these guys, you know, can work for so many different cards. Adult, teen, kids, male, female, all kinds of occasions. And then you just add in some extra sentiments if you need them. All right, Froggy Froggy, where did I just put the die? Hello. That's what I get when I'm talking too much. It's not there. It's not there. Oh, there he is. I knew I'd find him. At least I hoped I'd find him. Let's line that guy up. Nothing worse than having a plan and not being able to find that one piece. So I'll tape him down. I apologize for the earthquake. If there is one, that's not too bad. So there's our froggy friend. And let's switch. No, I gotta color the bees first. Make sure I put the dye back so I don't lose them. All right, that should be dry now, so let's go. I'm using Y15 and Y19. And just doing a super quick coloring job. Again, they're nice, bold critters, but there's not a lot to color, which makes them really easy to look awesome without a whole lot of work. Just adding some dark shades to the outside edges so that he looks round and fuzzy. See, coloring in seconds. And I've got my B00 that I'm just gonna add some flicks following the lines on his wings, just so they don't look like we've forgotten them. That blue just gives a bit of texture to him. So there's my bees. Let's cut them out, and we can get further into decorating. Okay, 1 bee. 2 bee. Lid, and go. Okay. So similar to this one here, I'm going to position my bees kind of there. I like my froggy here. Now we need some sentiments. How about don't worry, be hoppy on our froggy one. And I actually am going to make this sentiment a square. To add further, or maybe, you know what, maybe I'll do it this way. Maybe I'll do it this way so that it kind of mirrors the shape of that larger pattern piece. So I'm going to do that. Don't worry, be hoppy. Make it 2 inches here. And then we need a sentiment for over here. And I'm going to use a birthday sentiment. Actually, I may be able to use the bottom of that. So I think I'm going to keep it really simple and just use this happy birthday, this bigger one. Oh. Yes, look, I'm using my stamp scrubber. What do you think of that? I got over that white surface. This is Stamp Cleaner from Hero Arts. Just gone in my scrubber, get some all nice and scrubby clean. Then I can put him away. And let's go with this guy. So with skinny stamps, if you have trouble, because I tend to force it, and if you put it just loose on your table, it's going to retain its natural shape, and then you can just go like that. We'll use that later. We'll use that later. Let's go right. You know, I'm going to go right along the top here. Apologies if my head gets in the way. I'm just trying to get this nice and aligned at the top. He's nice and clean. Now, I am getting a new Hero Art shipment, hopefully later this week. If you want a scrubby tool to clean stamps while they're on your platform, that's coming, and I can't wait to demonstrate that for you. So let's do our happy birthday here. And if I do, you know what? Do I want it down or do I want it up? I think I'm gonna come up. And then I can arrange my bees around. Oh, and I want to dovetail my end. So giving a nice pointy arrow-like shape. Though I did use a pennant on the feminine as well. It's a pretty universal shape. Let's go up here like this. Trim off the end. And I always like to use my critters to surround my sentiment. So we'll put one bee here. No, I didn't get that second one. There we go. There it is. And other bee up top. And for this guy, because I want things to be matching, or at least coordinating, I'm gonna edge up using that same green ink. This was peeled paint. And I'm gonna put this kind of centered left to right on this bug paper, and then an even amount from the bottom here, and then our froggy. Pretty darn cute. One last thing we can do is we can add some gems. And you know what? Gems, again, are pretty universal. I don't know that I would necessarily use like rhinestones or anything too blingy on a masculine card. But if you have something that looks like stone, or I've seen ones that look like screws and that kind of thing, I'm just going to use dots. I want something that's going to stand out. So over here, I think the green is our best color. And I like my embellishments always being in a triangle. So do I put it up here or do I put it down here? I think I'm gonna put them up here, or maybe I can, yeah, I think I'm gonna put up here. So I'm gonna do a large, a small, and a medium clustered right here. So now my bees and my embellishments make a triangle that brings emphasis to my sentiment. Over here on Don't Worry, Be Hoppy, kind of running out of masculine colors. So here is what you can do with enamel or even rhinestones. I need to find my black Copic. So this is my 100 black alcohol ink marker. You can use Sharpies as well. You just may want to let them dry a little bit longer. But what I'm going to do, and I think I'm going to do this coral color just because I want some of the smaller ones as well. I'm going to color my embellishments. So I'm going to do 2 small. I don't have a large. I don't have 2 larges. Oh, but I could do over here. They don't have to be the same. So I'm going to color this guy up, and I want 2 mediums. Make sure you go right to the edge. And then I need 2 larges, so I'm going to come over here and color these guys. Again, make sure you go all the way to the bottom, all the way to the edge. And because it's alcohol ink, it dries pretty quickly. Let's just get all those edges. Okay, I've got 2 big, 2 medium, 2 small. Because I wanted that hit of black. So let's go with our big one. Come on. Let's go big. You definitely want to do this before you put it on your card. Medium. Because you don't want to be coloring on your finished card. Oops. Come on. It's being difficult. Change tools. How many times can you try to attach the same dot? All right, and then I'm going to put the second set Sometimes it's best not to think too much, just stick and go. There we go. So adding that hint of black here to our card. All right. I know I've gone over my time a little bit. Wow, it's almost 9 o'clock. Sorry for keeping you guys so long, but hopefully it was time well spent. When we look at all of these cards again, masculine versus feminine, let's get all our manly cards together, our feminine cards together. It really does come down to just choosing your supplies with a little bit of planning. And don't be afraid to take, you know, something you see on Pinterest that maybe has all kinds of flowers. And you can see with this card, it really came down to simply changing up that background paper, and it changes the whole look. And you know what? Worst case, you cut a piece of paper and you don't like it and you switch it out for something else. Don't be afraid to try different combinations like I did with this last card. Because you know what, if you need one card, odds are down the road you're going to need another one. So as a recap, remember to think about your patterns, whether it's florals versus plaids versus stripes. Think about your colors, and, you know, it goes right back to the baby line. It's pink versus blue, and don't be afraid to be stereotypical, or definitely personalize it to the person you're giving the card to. That will also help you pick your colors. Textures, so whether you're using wood grains or tire tracks, whether you're using distressing, hard versus soft, so using sponges versus the direct to paper technique. Your shapes, circles, squares, rounded corners, square corners, arrows, all those kind of things. Size and scale, so whether you're using a dainty print or a large bold print. And then your font, so bold blocky letters versus scripty sentiments. Thank you very much for hanging in and joining me tonight. If you are joining here on replay, thank you for coming back. We'll also post this on YouTube, and I will post photographs of these in the group as well, so you can use them as reference. Thanks so much, everyone. Wishing you a wonderful Tuesday night, and we'll see you right back here tomorrow for What's New. Good night, everyone.